What's up, everybody? My name's Dan Kornhauser.
And my name is Bobby Hunt.
Thank you guys for tuning in as we go on another adventure into the world of sports. This time, this is one of my favorite types of shows. It's a preview show. The NBA season is here. It's time. It was a wild off season. A lot of superstars moving around, a lot of craziness, a few new coaches. Actually, surprises on that front, too. But it's finally here, Bob. It's finally here. I'm excited to get the season going. Let's go Knicks, baby.
Go Knicks, bleed blue and orange. Problem is you weren't on the bandwagon last year. Hopefully you got correct in the offseason and
No, I didn't.
we'll be cheering for our team.
Nope.
No, not
Absolutely
at
not.
all.
Nope, not one bit.
Yeah, we're not a championship contender. You're right. But the chips didn't fall where they should have. We didn't get that franchise difference maker.
What a surprise. I wasn't surprised.
I wasn't surprised either. I've been beaten down too. I was just a little more optimistic than you were.
Nope, never again. Never with the Knicks, ever again. Until something changes. Then I'll be excited. But like I said, I feel like the last time we talked about basketball, I said this. And I'm going to say it again because it's started a new season and I want everyone to remember. Last year, before the season started, I was very negative about the Knicks. Everybody was hopeful and brimming with what could be. And I was shitting on the team all year. I said they just should lose out, be useless, get a top 5 pick, build it that way. And then the whole year they just kept winning and playing hard every night. And it was nice. But I didn't buy in the whole year until the playoffs. Then the playoffs came, and like a dummy, I went back on what I've been saying all year. I was like, oh, I was ready to give these guys respect. I had to eat some crow from the regular season, so I did. And then just as I sung their praises, what happens? Oh, that's right. They look like the same old Knicks that we love and hate at the same time. And I'm not going to make that mistake again.
Well, we'll see how that plays out when the predictions come, but I'm excited for the next season. I don't think they'll be a 4 seed like last year, but they should still be a competitive team. But should we start there? That sounds about right. Start with the Atlantic. So we'll just continue with the Knicks, and then we'll of course get to the crosstown rival, Brooklyn Nets, who are championship contenders, while the Knicks are not.
Yep.
Now, the Knicks at least are competitive, and that's exciting. But you're right. They're not a contender. We don't know what the future holds. They do still have a lot of flexibility, though. They have first-round picks. They have some assets, trade exceptions, and whatnot. So they still can position themselves going forward to make a splash. Hopefully, it'll actually come to fruition this time. At least they look competent now. I just didn't want to go down that rabbit hole of continuing to suck and still lose out in the lottery and get G'd. So it didn't happen. They were a playoff team last year. I expect them to be right there again this year. Probably in that 40 to 45 win range is what I would expect for the Knicks. Randall, I don't think he can sustain what he did last year, but they bring back the same team pretty much, aside from like Reggie Bullock and Frank Ntilikina. They're pretty much returning everyone else. Hopefully Mitchell Robinson can stay healthy. He'd be a huge boost. It's ugly when you have to play Taj Gibson in the playoffs, but injuries necessitated that. They bring back Noel. They bring back Derrick Rose, just to name a few. And then you hope RJ Barrett continues to grow in year 3, which I think he will. He will continue to get better. So I think the Knicks have some nice young pieces to build around, but clearly they still are lacking another star, maybe even 2 stars, unless Barrett becomes one. Randall right now is an all-star. I wouldn't call him anything close to a superstar, but he's a very good player. He was bad in the playoffs last year. He's got to be better if they do make it. But this is it's going to be competitive. Knicks at least will give us some good games throughout the year, be entertaining in my opinion. And the only thing I just want to see is that the guys don't get killed on their minutes per game. They're coming off a 72 game season. They look tired at the end of it in the playoffs. Now they've had a little bit more of a regular off season, but the Knicks got to get some rest. They need to show their depth. And they did bring back a lot of guys. So you hope they can do that. I don't want to see Randall playing the most minutes in the league. I don't expect Thibodeau to completely change, of course. That's what he does, but
That's what he
take
does.
a couple minutes off their per games, just a little bit, 2 minutes per game for each of them.
You're asking too much, Bob.
I might be. I probably am.
You're asking way too much. I like the Knicks' depth. The Knicks are one of the middle card East teams. They're not going to be one of the top four like they were last year. I'd be shocked if they were. In fact, the only reason they would be is if Kemba stays healthy, which he hasn't been able to the last couple of years. Barrett takes that next step, like you said. Randall keeps his play up, and that depth. The Knicks actually have some nice depth. They do. Is no superstars. There's nobody that's going to light the world on fire, but I like their roster. It's cute. It's a nice team. It's a playoff contender, but I think it's going to be hovering more around like the 7-8 seed than it is going to be a shoe-in as a 4 or 5 seed. I said they didn't have a place last year as a 4 team, and I was right the whole year. And then I backed out. I'm not going to make that mistake again. I don't care how good they looked during the regular season. It was clear to everyone once the playoffs rolled around that the better talented teams will, in most cases, move forward. It showed. And I mean, yeah, the Hawks played a little bit out of their minds last year and were pretty impressive in the playoffs. And they hope to maybe take that next step. But I think that was more of an indication of what was going on around the NBA last season than it was that the Hawks are ready to take that next step. I only mentioned the Hawks because, of course, they smacked around the Knicks in the first round and put them to bed real early, real surely. But it was deserved. They weren't quite right last year. The Knicks are better this year, but I'm done with them. I don't want to talk about the Knicks anymore.
I'm done with them. Well, if anyone's curious, they're over under on the year's 42.5 wins. So just about right above 500 is what they're projected to do.
That's rough. I don't know if I want to take that over. The East should be really good. I like what the East has this year. There's been a lot of changes all over the East. And you know what? While we're in the division, let's move on. Let's talk about the Nets, Bob, because the Nets are a team that, as we know, they're a championship contender, but they've had a lot more drama than a team with Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, etc. should probably have. And it's not for any moves that they made or didn't make or that they should have made and people were disappointed or whatever. No. The team that's currently constructed is deep. They have tons of veterans. They've got 3 superstars, 2 of the top 6 to 7 players in the NBA. Durant is arguably the best player in the league. I love me some James Harden. You know this.
Oh, I do know that.
That's my boy. That's my
love taking
boy.
him in fantasy. You didn't get him this year. You're going to try to trade for him?
I'm going to try to trade for him. I gotta try. I gotta try. I got the pieces and that guy sucks. So let me get that. Let me get my man's. But Bob, a lot of the drama surrounds Kyrie Irving. As we know, something like 90% as we know, something like 90% of the NBA players are fully vaccinated and ready for the season. The NBA in itself doesn't have a rule that you have to be vaccinated to play, but if the city that you're playing in has vaccine mandates, then the NBA is following that city's mandates. So why is that important? Well, we're in New York. New York City has vaccine mandates. You have to get the vaccine to do any indoor activities, and basketball is an indoor activity. So the players who play in New York, not just New York teams like Brooklyn and the Knicks, but anyone who comes to New York, their players and their staff and their faculty, whoever comes to the game, whoever comes to the city, will have to be fully vaccinated. So that's a problem for the Nets, because while like 90% of the NBA is fully vaccinated, Kyrie Irving is one of the players who is not. He is very strong on his stance, and he's kind of like changed his reasoning behind it. Originally, it was we don't know enough. Now it's he wants to be a voice for the voiceless, for people who are losing their jobs because of the mandate and stuff like that. And listen, it sounds good, but it also sounds dumb. And I know Kyrie Irving has done a lot of good in, off the court, a lot of good, a lot of different charitable things and working with different organizations. And he's a good guy off the court. He's loopy, but he is a good guy off the court. He has contributed to the community and he's done good things. But
No, give me a break. If he was going to be a voice for the voiceless, he would have done it a lot sooner and come out earlier. Where was he months ago, even when this whole debate was raging on? It's just a BS excuse. It's absolute crap.
I don't want it to devolve into like a vaccine conversation.
It's not. I'm just saying that he's full of shit. He's found other ways in the last year or two to get out of playing basketball and earning his contract. It's ridiculous. It's a joke. It's not everything that he does is a problem. There's something wrong with it, except for playing basketball. When he's on that court, he's great. There's absolutely no denying that, and no one does. Everyone's pretty much right on when they comment on Kyrie's situation, at least for the most part. It's him just always being the center of attention and distracting from the team. It's just always him, no matter what. All right, so maybe he doesn't want to get the vaccine and he happens to play in a city where it's needed. But it kind of more to me is just following in the path of everything he's been doing, especially since he became a Net. Just missing games last year because of personal reasons, and he's showing up on Zoom classes in a college course or whatever. It's just he's off the wall, and it's a shame for the Nets who have championship aspirations, but they got to do something. Well, they pretty much did do something about it, but I'm curious to see what he does. And it's funny, of course we were going to talk about him because we're talking about the Nets, but one of the questions I did have to pose to you was going to be, do you think Kyrie Irving plays any games this season, whether it's with the Nets or anyone else?
Yes.
Okay. So you think he gets vaccinated or he gets traded? Or both?
I think it's more likely that he gets vaccinated, because what are you going to get for Kyrie Irving right now? I mean, there's only, I think, 2 cities that NBA teams play in that have vaccine mandates, or 2 states or whatever, New York and California. But I don't know, man. It's just,
I think it's really only 5 teams. I think it's, New York City. So you have the Nets and the Knicks.
The Nets and the Knicks.
I think it's Los Angeles. I don't think it's all of California because I don't think the Kings are. I don't think they're under a mandate.
I don't think Golden State. Oh, Golden State is.
They are, because they're in San Francisco, which has the mandate. And then LA, so that affects the Clippers and Lakers. I'm pretty sure it's those 5 teams that have to deal with the mandates right now.
Gotcha. So everybody else doesn't have to worry about that. So maybe one of those other teams get excited and say, hey, we could get a superstar like Kyrie Irving. Let's do it. But I don't know. I have concerns about him if he's going to follow through with his threats to retire. He said if he got traded from the Nets that he would retire. And there's also been reports, I think Stephen A. Smith reported it last week or 2 weeks ago or something like that, that if the Nets had decided that they wanted to trade Kyrie, Kevin Durant wouldn't step in the way. I know Durant and Kyrie came as a package deal. Wherever they were going together. But KD sees the situation as is. The man's trying to win rings. He's getting older. There's only one way things go when you get over 30. And spoiler alert, the arrow does not point up generally.
I'd be tight, but thank God for Durant. He at least has James Harden with him there too. And they have a talented roster otherwise.
I think that's part of the reason why Durant has that stance. Like, he went there with Kyrie thinking like him and Kyrie were going to have to do it all. Then they got James Harden. Now he doesn't have to worry about Kyrie, because honestly, I say Harden is better. I'll take Harden over Kyrie any day if I was starting an NBA team. I would take Harden over Kyrie any day. I don't care that Kyrie's younger. I don't care that he's less expensive. I don't care that he might even be more talented, at least offensively, than James Harden. I'll take James Harden any day of the week over Kyrie, because you have to consider the whole package. But now that Durant's got Harden, Durant's like, you know what? If you guys decide to trade him, you trade him, whatever. And if I'm the Nets, I try to explore that avenue. Go get Ben Simmons. I know that's been floated around. Go get Ben Simmons. Why would Kyrie retire if he got traded to Philly? You get to play against Brooklyn twice a year. You get to play with Embiid, and Philadelphia suddenly is a legit championship contender with Embiid and with Kyrie. Embiid and Ben Simmons, not so much, but Embiid and Kyrie, if Kyrie buys in, he wouldn't have to take a vaccine in Philly. I would buy Philly as a contender for the 1 seed and one of the better teams in the league with if they did that trade. And it would be a win for Brooklyn as well. They got Harden and Durant to handle the offense. Let Ben play his elite defense, play off the ball, and when these guys sit, let him run the show.
Thing is, it won't happen just because they're in the same.
Oh, it won't. Yeah, no,
but
there's
it
0% chance.
It is fun to talk about because it does make a lot of sense for both teams.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that they're in the same division, it's pie in the sky. It just won't happen, unfortunately.
No.
But it would be very nice for both teams. But they'd have to live with whatever the results are, not only in the regular season, but especially what plays out in the postseason, which I think the Nets would be in a much better position.
No, absolutely. But regardless of what happens with Kyrie, we know what Brooklyn is. Brooklyn's stacked. If Durant is healthy and Harden's healthy, that's really all that matters. They got a lot of old big men, Millsap, Blake Griffin, LaMarcus Aldridge, James Johnson, ancient. But they'll be all right. I think they're in a better place to deal with some injuries now than they were last year. Adding a guy like Millsap helps. Adding Patty Mills helps. Adding James Johnson. Nobody's special, bunch of old guys, but real solid role players. And we're not playing 2K, so you don't have to worry about having 10 guys who can ball out. You don't have to worry about playing 10 guys every night. Most of these teams are going to play 7 or 8 guys every night until we get later in the season. But even still, that's T to B, quite right.
The Nets need someone like Nicholas Claxton just to step up off the bench. Not that they need it like they're going to make or break their year, but they need someone a little bit younger because it's Griffin, Aldridge, Millsap in the front court. But I think Claxton showed some nice signs last year. And this team, besides the fact that they are top heavy, I actually think they're better. They have better depth than most people think or want to give them credit for. Advanced age players that are on the wrong side of 30. But
you know how I feel about old guys, Bob.
But this is a good team. Obviously, Durant and Harden are the main reasons why we're going to pick them pretty high when we get to the predictions. But yeah, nice vets like Patty Mills and Griffin and Bruce Brown showed out last year. Maybe Cam Thomas and Nick Claxton, those 2 young players step up. At least Claxton definitely showed signs last year for them. So it's a great team. And
even Cam Thomas has been balling out for them too in the summer league and shit like that. Cam Thomas is a walking bucket. He may not be a factor early on in the season, but as the season wears on and we see Kevin Durant, maybe even Harden getting those rest nights and coaches' decision nights off and load management bullshits, Cam Thomas could step right in, maybe even if it's with the second unit, drop 20 off the bench, do something nice, man.
And general manager Sean Marks isn't one to sit on his hands. Like they make a deal or someone will get bought out and they'll bring in that player. They'll definitely be active in those markets as they were last year. Anytime a team's this competitive, they're always going to be active for those free agent vets. Guys want to go to a team where they have a chance to win it all. And right now, according to my sports book, Brooklyn has the highest projected win total. Their over under is 55.5.
Damn, I hate these lines, dude.
You don't have to predict it. I'm not
going to predict it, but yeah, I hate.
I'm not going to do it for every team, but I just want to at least throw out the locals and some other interesting ones as we go along.
So let's move on to the Atlantic because we do have a bunch of other teams and we kind of just been going on about our hometown teams, but let's move on. So the Boston Celtics, they have a new coach because Brad Stevens stepped down. Now, instead of the coach, Brad Stevens is their general manager. His first hire was Ime Udoka, the actually coincidental Brooklyn Nets assistant coach from, for the last year, pretty much, year or two, previously from the Spurs as well. So he's got the pedigree and he's been doing the coaching thing for a few years now, worked under Pop, now got to work with a couple of stars in Brooklyn and see how he meshed with them. I don't really care about the head coach, even though coaches are, important in the league. We've seen teams with terrible coaches not respond, like the Lakers with Mac Brown, how it just was just wasn't happening. They had
Was
to fire him 2 weeks into the season. They had no choice. It just wasn't working. So it's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna be that. I like Udoka. Everything I've read about him coming up through the years
he was former player for the Spurs.
Yeah, former player. Yep. So everything I've heard has been good things about him. We knew he was going to get a head coaching job sooner than later. So congratulations to him. That's awesome. And the Celtics do have a good team. They're not ass.
Well, of course not. They had a down year last year, a lot of injuries, a lot of COVID-related illness as well that ravaged the team. But you got to like some of the moves that they made. At least in my opinion, when we talked about the Horford trade, I didn't say it's clear cut, but I like it for the Celtics in the now because I think they miss that identity. And I think they will be better off bringing back Horford, who had success there, is familiar with what they do. Yes, it's not Brad Stevens, but it's still going to be of that ilk. And obviously Stevens now in the front office as an advisor. I forget his exact title, probably like VP of basketball operations or something.
Brad Stevens?
President. Yeah.
He's the general manager.
Well, de facto, but he probably has a title.
Team, I think team president and general manager.
But they get Dennis Schroeder on a tiny deal when he could have gotten an extension of like 89 mil or something, or 84.
Idiot.
What a bozo. Absolutely.
There's another player who did that, who bet on himself. Who was it? Noah. Jesus Christ. Wait for it. Nerlens Noel. He's the other one.
He's the one suing his former agent. Yeah.
Yes, who had a big deal on the table, apparently. His agent told him not to take it. And then since then, it's been nothing but downhill for this guy.
It's just been 1 year deals year after year for him. He finally got one in this past off season with the Knicks. He got like 3 for 30. But yeah, he didn't cash in when he could have a few years ago. He could have gotten a real fat deal. But
4
the Celtics,
years, 60K.
Yeah, it was something like that. But I expect basically Jaylen Brown and Tatum to take yet another leap. I think they're two of the best young players in the NBA. They're both under 25 right now, and they just need to be healthy. They had a longer off season. I think they're a little deeper especially in the front court. The front court was hideous last year when they played Daniel Tice so much. Decent player, but shouldn't have gotten as many minutes. But another year for Robert Williams. Grant Williams played well last year. You bring in Horford, who I like, at least for the Celtics identity. This team is going to be good and competitive. I think they'll be better than last year.
Oh, absolutely. As long as you mentioned, they're healthy. I know Marcus Smart is already dealing with issues. I don't even think he's going to be available to start the season. I think he's suspended or something like that. Jaylen Brown had all kinds of injury issues. Al Horford didn't play, mostly because Oklahoma City was tanking. But I said I hated that acquisition when it happened. I hated it so much. That's
your Florida guy.
I know that's my Florida boy, and he's had a great career, but it's over for that man. He doesn't have he shouldn't be starting in the NBA in 2021. He's got no mobility. I don't care how good he can pass. I don't care what his veteran presence brings. Who gives a shit? You're trying to win games, and this guy can't play defense. He's a complete liability on the defensive side.
You know what? You're a liability.
Well, I'm not an NBA player, Bob. All right. So Al Horford's butt, and I'm just going to say it out loud. I'm going to say it here now. I hate it. I hated it so much. He's getting paid so much money, and it might as well be robbery. I hate it so much. But they don't really have much else going on otherwise. What, they're going to start Tatum at the 4 and have Al Horford come off the bench? It's gross. But I like the Celtics. I hate to say that out loud, but I like what they have going on. They are a solid squad. We'll see where they go from here. I don't see them being anything special, and I don't see them as a contender. But this could be the year where we see like Tatum really take that next step into the upper echelon, be that top 12 to 15 guy, unquestioned, because I think he's really, really pushing it at this point.
Oh, he absolutely is. The Celtics are going to be a good team. There's no doubt about it. They had a down year. Jason Tatum's going to be a beast. We know this.
Now, what about the 76ers, Bob? The 76ers.
That's my second question for you.
Oh, okay.
Throw it at you early with this one.
Here we go.
Does Ben Simmons get traded this season?
Yes, he does.
Okay.
The reason I say that is because he's making it so awkward. It's like the couple that lived together but broke up, and neither one of them has moved out yet, but they're clearly no longer a couple. They're clearly no longer in love or interested in being together, but just neither one has moved out. Like, what's that movie with Vince Vaughn and Jennifer Aniston? The Breakup, is it?
I think so.
Like that. Like an awkward situation where they're not dating, but one of them is sleeping on the couch and the other one's bringing dates home, and they're buying that pool table for the living room that they've always wanted, but there's that's what this is. That's what's going on right now. It's getting to the point where Ben Simmons is making it just awkward for everyone. He's had nothing good to say all off season. All it's been is trying to get traded and whatever. He went to practice and then totally skipped out on the team huddle or whatever. Once the final whistle blew for practice ending, he just left. He didn't say nothing to his teammates. He's making it weird, man. It's like Harden showing up to camp last year all fat and useless, and I'll say it, faking injuries and whatever to get traded, and really just being awkward about it.
Faking obesity.
At least John Wall and the Rockets, for example, the Rockets aren't going to play John Wall. They've agreed to this. They're not going to play him during the regular season because they want to trade him. So that's an amicable separation. That's not weird. John Wall's not throwing anybody under the bus. He's not leaving his teammates hanging awkwardly in practice and being a jerk. Ben Simmons is. And that can really damage a team when you got your second highest paid player and all-star being all moody on the side and pissing people off. And it's going to affect the team. It's going to affect the on-court product. And when it does, the team's going to get to the point where it's going to be like, well, addition by subtraction kind of thing. Even without him, they're still a good team. Even without him, they should still be a top 4 seed, 5 seed in the playoffs in the East. It's not like the East is something special or crazy. Embiid's a beast. Tobias Harris is still good and can score 20 on any night. Danny Green plays good defense. Seth Curry's a good shooter. Tyrese Maxey, you like to see what he can do with actual playing time instead of coming off the bench and shit and splitting with Shake Milton and whatever. So it's a good squad, and they got a good coach. I still think they could be a good team, but I'm going to say Ben Simmons definitely gets traded. It's just getting too weird.
The health of Embiid is I can't even speak. The clear key to the entire season is him being healthy, whether Ben is playing or not. Tobias Harris, of course, is an important part as well, but I look for someone like Tyrese Maxey to really step up, whether Ben's in the lineup or not. If he isn't, he'll, of course, get a lot of burn, and he can be a dynamic playmaker. I expect him to step up, and especially he has pieces to give the ball to. He's not going to see double teams when you have Harris and Embiid out there. So look for him to contribute a lot. And it's also because I don't feel like they're a very deep team. They're very top heavy, especially when they do have Simmons there. Yes, we love to crap on Ben Simmons, but when he's out there, he is a great player on defense. He can rebound. He can get some assists and score in transition at least, even though he can't shoot free throws or shoot in general. So the Sixers are still going to be in the mix for the playoffs, of course, but I think the Simmons cloud is going to hang over them until they trade him. And then even when they do, what do they get back? Are they going to be able to get a player that can really contribute to their run? They're going to try to, I imagine, but otherwise picks don't really help them right now, unless it's with a team picking very high up. But even then, I don't know if a team's going to do that with how depressed Simmons' value is.
Oh, it's at an all-time low, and it ain't going up anytime soon. So that's what I'm saying. And that's the other thing. I think because his value is not going to improve anytime soon, they have to get rid of him. But let's move on. I hate the Raptors. I hate the Raptors. I hate their roster.
I hate what they did last year.
I hate what they did last year. Losing Kyle Lowry is going to be a big loss for this team, Bob. I know Van Vliet is more than capable, and they do have Gary Trent Jr., and they brought in Goran Dragic when they sent Lowry over in a sign-and trade to the Heat. But no Pascal Siakam. You're going to rely on a lot on Scotty Barnes and Keem Birch, and it's gross.
It's bad. I think Anunoby will really step up.
I like Anunoby.
Siakam hopefully will only be out about a month or so. He's coming back off injury. But in the meantime, yeah, you figure it's going to be a lot more minutes for Gary Trent, Scotty Barnes, maybe Chris Boucher gets even better, although he's older than people realize. He's about 29 or so. He came over a lot later. So they're going to have to look at some young developmental pieces. But the thing is, the Raptors have been able to do that over the years. They've been a successful organization at developing these diamonds in the rough that no one
Nurse is one of the better coaches in the league.
He's one of the better coaches in the league. So they can maybe surprise and make the playoffs, maybe in the play-in. I don't think they're good enough at all to be in the top 6, but in that 7 to 10 range, maybe. I don't necessarily see it. We'll have to find out in my predictions, but I still don't think they're going to be a joke just because the organization has shown a capability to develop players. And like you said, Nurse, good coach. And Van Fleet, Anunoby, Siakam, they are good players.
They are.
Just need Siakam back sooner than later.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Now let's get out of the Atlantic, Bob. I'm done with the Atlantic. We got a lot of teams to cover. Let's go to the Central. Now, 2 of these 5 teams are most likely going to be among the 5 worst teams in the league. As exciting as they might be because they have a bunch of young players, I'm talking about the Cavs and the Pistons. I have Cade Cunningham on my fantasy team. He was the number 1 overall pick. He should be in the running for the rookie of the year as long as he stays healthy. He's going to get plenty of burn. He's going to get the rock on the ball, off the ball. He's already shown in summer league he's comfortable off the ball. So if he can be the superstar that he's projected to be, that'll be a huge step forward for the Pistons because ain't no one going to Detroit as a free agent. And even if they trade for someone, ain't no one going to be signed with them. So getting a guy like Cade gives them some legitimacy. They have some good prospects. Same thing with the Cavs. You know, both these teams are going to suck, but at least they should be fun. Cleveland's got Garland and Sexton, both who should score 20 up, could average 20 a game scoring. Evan Mobley should also be in the running for rookie of the year. He's going to be starting next to Jared Allen, so it should be an interesting fit. I know Greg, for example, is one of the people who was saying that Mobley should be starting, but the fit next to Allen is questionable. But Mobley has shown that he could do some good things on the defensive side at the 4, so there is hope for them. But they're going to be bad. They're going to be bad. The Cavs are going to be bad. The Pistons are going to be bad. Neither one of these teams are going to challenge for a playoff spot. I like Isaiah Stewart. I like Sadiq Bey. I have Killian Hayes on my team as well as a bench guy who has some high potential.
Who's going to get cut soon?
Stop it.
Which would be your wavy.
He might be my week 1 wavy. Who knows? But I did cut Jordan Clarkson early last year, so I don't have the best reputation when it comes to dropping guys early in the season.
Yeah, we'll try to cut down on how much we talk about some of these butthole teams. Mm-hmm. So I'll keep it short and sweet. Cleveland and Detroit, clearly 2 of the worst teams, as you mentioned. You do have some nice young pieces like Isaiah Stewart, Killian Hayes, Cade Cunningham, of course, and the rookie of the year running. Jeremy Grant, though, is still who they're going to run through. You still have Dwayne Casey as a coach, but I don't see him really doing nearly as good a job as he did when he was under the Toronto Raptors organization. So they're still going to be a bad team and going to be in the Chet Holmgren sweepstakes potentially if he shows out in his first year in Gonzaga for the NBA draft. We'll see who tanks this year. That's one thing I do want to add to is just that I think it'll be a more normal year. We're still going to see BS with some of the rest, but I don't think it'll be as bad just because they had a longer off season than they did after the shortened coronavirus season. After that bubble, they had a quick turnaround to the new season. But also the fact that these teams aren't going to be tanking for elite level prospects like they were last year. Last year, we know the draft was loaded. So I think that'll help a little bit, at least. It's still going to happen, but maybe not as many teams, basically. And then with the Cavs, I love Evan Mobley. I think he's going to be a beast in the league. I think he's going to be a guy that could average 2 blocks, maybe even a double-double. He can shoot. He's going to continue to develop that shooting range, but he has a nice stroke.
So it sounds like you think he's going to be a top 15 player in the league in some time.
Yeah, down the road.
Because there's not many big men who are going to be averaging a double-double and 2 blocks.
Yeah, not now. He's not going to do it yet.
No. I'm talking about in time. You think Mobley has that projection?
Yeah, I'm not saying he's going to be
in the upper echelon.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's going to average 25 and 12. I'm just saying, yeah, like he could get I'm thinking 16 and 10 or something.
Listen, those are Cody Zeller projections, all right?
Yeah, right. It's not those.
It's not those.
But yeah, also Kevin Love, useless piece of shit, taking up that spot on the bench for $31 million. It's gross.
You know what, Bob? Here's a question for you. Is Kevin Love going to get traded this season, or is he just going to rot on this team?
They're going to either buy him out or trade him for a bacon, egg, and cheese because that's about all he's worth right now. It's gross.
Beautiful.
He's going to be in the
Beautiful.
buyout market.
You know
He'll be a net. All right. You know what it's going to be.
One thing I will say is, even though these teams are friggin' ass, is the Cavs added Ricky Rubio and Lauri Markkanen in the offseason. They're trying. They're giving the illusion of trying and adding veteran talent. Yes, Markkanen got overpaid. Yes, Ricky Rubio is not quite right and is literally just a backup guard. But it's cute. It's not sitting by doing absolutely nothing and hoping for the best like Oklahoma City did. It's not adding these prospects and doing absolutely nothing otherwise.
So I thought we were going to put a bow on them. Let's get
We're going to put a bow on them, but I just wanted to say it. I liked it. I don't know. Anyway, let's go to the relevant teams. All right. We're done with these buttholes. The Bulls, the Pacers, the Bucks. We know this is the Bucks division. We know the Bucks are going to be one of the better teams in the league. We know Giannis is going to be in the MVP running. Is there something that we don't know that we need to know about the Bucks, Bob? I mean, they lost PJ Tucker, which is going to hurt, but Dante DiVincenzo is going to be injured to start the season. But does it matter at all? Is it just unless Giannis gets hurt, does it matter?
It does not matter when you have
not
Giannis,
one bit.
Not at all. He's the best player in the NBA right now. Chris Middleton showed out last year, earned his keep. They won a title. They've been together for Giannis's entire career, which is now 7 or 8 seasons.
A true Batman and Robin.
Absolutely. They have Drew Holiday. I don't love their depth, but they got by on it last year. Really, it's just a matter of when DiVincenzo can come back and Portis come back healthy. But in the meantime, they are always a great regular season team. I'll give it away now because it's not a big deal. I'm going to pick them number 1 in the East. I think they're going to have the most wins, finish around 60 or so. That's Mike Budenholzer's specialty, winning in regular season. And now he has the hardware to back it up too. So they're looking good. They're going to be great. It's just a matter of who's going to step up between the Bulls and the Pacers. Bulls didn't even make the playoffs last year. Pacers were in the play-in, but lost that. So I expect the Bulls to be number 2. Honestly, I love those moves of getting DeRozan and Lonzo Ball. You pair them with Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic. You bring in Alex Caruso, the Birdman. Mm-hmm. They're going to be a very good team. Vie for the top 4 in the East. And Billy Donovan's a good coach. I don't think he's a great coach. I don't think he's as good as he was in college, of course, with them Florida Gators. But this Bulls team has talent, and I think they may also be a team that's going to be active in those buyout and trade markets when it comes to deadline time.
I really like the Bulls. I like what they did this offseason. Like you said, Ball, DeRozan, great additions. Absolutely fantastic. Caruso is going to be that spark plug off the bench, and I hope they give him the run that he deserves because he's been showing his ass in the preseason thus far. So that's cool. I know Greg's excited for the Bulls this season. They're not a championship contender, but I think they could very well finish second in this division. That would not surprise me, not one bit. LaVine is a superstar. Well, on his way to superstar status, he's a definite all-star, one of the better scorers in the league, a lightning rod of excitement, whether it's a dunk or a deep 3 or something like that, something special. Vucevic might be better this year than he was last year. When I say better, I don't mean more statistics. I mean more efficient because DeRozan's a good passer from the wing. Lonzo Ball is one of the better passers in the league, and they have a good mix. My only question for the Bulls is on their defense and their bench. Let's be honest. DeRozan, not a defender. Zach LaVine, not a defender. They're going to need Patrick Williams to really fill that defensive stopper role on the wing for them, and he's going to have to play some power forward for them at some times. He might even start at power forward for them. So that'll be something to watch. They're better, but I think at best like a mid-range team, 4, 5, 6 area. I think next year's when they would really take that step with some more additions. They got to add to that bench because I hate it. I hate it so much. But Bob, let me ask you a question. When is my boy gonna get some love around the league? I'm tired of the disrespect. Sabonis is a top big man in the NBA. He is one of the better players in the league. has one of the best all-around games if you forget about defense for a second. And his game is only growing. Sabonis is only getting better. He's gotten better every year. What does my man have to do to get the respect that he deserves? The man's a walking double-double. He's going to lead this team in scoring, rebounds. He might even lead them in assists because I don't trust Brogdon as a ball handler. When's he going to get some love, Bob?
Do not fret, young man, because I think the Pacers will be a lot better this year. Now, it might not translate into a very high seed, but that's more about the strength in the East than anything else. But Sabonis is going to be noticed. He's already been making all-star teams the last few years. And now they have a really good coach in Rick Carlisle. He's going to make a big difference, in my opinion. I love that head coaching hire. They snatched him up as quick as they could as soon as he was out in Dallas. And this is a good team. They need some better health, number one. Unfortunately, Karis LeVert and TJ Warren are always hurt. It's sad, but true. But if they're healthy, eventually, pairing them with Brogdon and Sabonis, Miles Turner, have Lamb and Holiday come off the bench, this is going to be one of those better teams. I think they, like the Celtics, were a disappointment last year after they were in, say, the top 5, I believe, the prior year in the East. They were good teams. They're better than this. And I think especially the fact that the Pacers now have a legitimate head coach. They did a couple years ago in Nate McMillan. Now he's having great success with the Hawks. But Nate Bjorken or whatever was terrible in his first year. He was a joke. Players didn't even respect him. He's out after 1 year. But
Bjork is a good Icelandic singer. But
yes, she is
not a good NBA coach.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So the Pacers, I think your boy Sabonis will get his love this year because they'll be better. And I think maybe not this year, but the following year, make some moves, hopefully be able to retain some of this core, and they could be a serious contender.
Brogdon, LeVert, Warren, they have to stay healthy. Even Turner missed a bunch of games last year. They got to stay healthy. They got to get their shit together. I like the Indiana Pacers. I do. I really like this team. I don't think
McConnell, we got to mention him too.
Yo, TJ McConnell showed his ass last year when Brogdon was hurt, coming out there to do something special. He was one of the waiver gems last year whenever he was getting playing time. So I like what they have. I like the depth that they've built. They're another squad that's a solid like 8-9 guys deep, but they got to stay healthy. That's the key. That's the key for them, man. They got to stay healthy. Now, let's go to the Southeast. This division is actually interesting for me because as much as I think the Heat are the clear favorite, and I don't even think that's debatable, the Hawks went in last year. They showed very well in the playoffs, and Trey Turner.
Woo!
Wow.
What are we in the NFL right now?
Yeah, sorry. I'm all over the
Carolina
place.
into the Chargers.
All over the place. Trae Young looked like he was ready to take that next step into superstardom in the playoffs. And he's a guy, we know Trae is a guy who at any point can explode for 40 and 12 on any given night. He's got that Chef Curry range, okay? But this is the Heat's division. To lose.
I think it's interesting that you said it's not even debatable because I will gladly debate you on that. I'd like the Hawks.
Well, you're confused, and it's okay.
I believe it's going to be close. If you want to look at even the betting totals, the over for Miami's 48, for Atlanta it's 47.5. So even Vegas thinks it's about the same. But yes, the Heat
Vegas could suck it.
Heat have a maybe better top 3. They do have a elite. Well, I don't know about elite when you consider all the big threes around the league, but definitely top 10.
It's elite.
When you have Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Kyle Lowry. But I just don't like their depth as much. I like Hero coming off the bench. He's definitely a 6-man candidate. PJ Tucker and Robinson play their roles right, but Gabe Vincent. I don't love Dwayne Dedmon. But the Hawks are deep. Not only do they have probably the best player right now, because Trae Young is better than Jimmy Butler at this point, but you also have John Collins. You have DeAndre Hunter, hopefully back healthy. They have the depth. Oh, Clint Capella, of course. Can't forget about him at center. Bogdanovich was amazing last year down the stretch and in the playoffs.
I don't want to talk
big
about
shot
it.
after big shot. And they have nice, solid veterans on the bench when you consider Lou Williams, DeLon Wright, Danilo Gallinari. I love their depth. See, and it's not only, I do think the big three of the Heat is certainly better, and I get why they're the sexy pick after an active offseason, but not only because of just depth on paper, but the fact that we know Jimmy Butler misses games every year. We know Kyle Lowry misses games every year. Those are two of those big three. Hawks, I have less concerns. Maybe Trae Young misses 5 to 8 games a year. Capello missed a few here and there, but they have the depth to compensate for that. So I would debate you on. I am debating you on that. I think they'll be a little bit better. I think they both make the playoffs. It's not like you're going to have the Hawks miss out, but I think the Hawks are the team to beat.
See, Bob, it sounds like you haven't learned from your past egregious mistakes. When it came to our baseball predictions, you laughingly, just foolishly slept on the Rays again.
Not this year. That was last year.
I'm just saying, you didn't quite give the Rays the respect that they deserved. Even this year, you didn't give them the respect that they deserved. You said they were good. You said they're going to contend for the AL East, but of course, you still went with the Yankees. And when it came down to it, you didn't give them the love that they deserved as the type of franchise that they've shown to be in the last couple of years. You're doing the same thing with Miami.
Suck it.
You're doing the same thing with Miami because last year you disrespected. I felt that you disrespected Miami. John and I had conversations about it on IG. We had conversations about your disrespect, and he wanted to come on the show and tell you some things about your statements and your predictions of last year.
Yeah, and what did the Heat do? Finish worse than the Hawks.
Didn't do a damn thing.
Yeah,
but I really like.
I hear it. Yeah,
the C team is right. And yeah, the Hawks are good. The Hawks are good. I don't want to sleep on the Hawks. We saw what Trey did to the Knicks. We saw what Trey did throughout the postseason. We saw Bogdanovich step up. Clint Capella is a walking double-double. You get it. But I think it's Miami, and we're gonna keep talking about this as the season goes on, I think.
Absolutely. We need a little wager on that.
Enough about it. We're gonna have a little wager, you and I. But enough about Miami and Atlanta, Charlotte, Orlando, Washington. Not much to talk about. Two of these teams have new head coaches in Orlando and Washington. I think Jay would say that Orlando could be a playoff team.
No, he wouldn't. He's not that confused. No,
he might say it. I've heard worse.
Let's just put it like this.
When it comes to Orlando
is god awful. They got to see what they have in Jalen Suggs, Cole Anthony, RJ Hampton, the young guys. Bamba has to play. They need to. I don't know what they were doing last year. And this is part of the reason why they have a new coach, because it was a joke that Bamba was buried on the bench or in the doghouse, whatever.
Just terrible.
This is a bad team. We'll see if Wendell Carter can play a healthy season, but probably not. They're bad. They're going to be contending for the number one pick. It's obvious.
Now, oh, damn, Bob, the number one pick. It's obvious. Damn.
Yeah, it's just a matter of what happens in the lottery. The Orlando Magic are going to be terrible.
Damn, Bob. All right. Well,
the lowest projected win total at 22.5.
How about the Hornets? Is LaMelo going to be an all-star this year?
If he's healthy, of course. He's the next star in the league. He can do a little bit of everything. He's got the swag. He's kind of a pain in the ass and looks like a douche, but he can ball. That much you can't deny at all. He's a great player, and he's going to continue to rise.
More likely to happen: Ball makes the All-Star team, or Gordon Hayward plays 60% of the games this year.
Ooh, well, you said 60, but I still say
of the games. Yeah,
I still say LaMelo making the All-Star game. And they have a nice roster. Rozier had a great season last year.
Mm-hmm.
Drafted Book Knight, Miles Bridges, and PJ Washington are decent bigs. They're kind of interchangeable at small forward, power forward. Mm-hmm. They're still probably more a playing team. It's a tough East. The East is strong this year.
It is.
So the Hornets will be at least in that mix, but it's at least a bright future. You can look forward to things if you're a Charlotte fan.
You want to talk about bad teams? Washington made some moves. I like that the veterans that they added, but unimpressed.
Yeah.
Nothing for Washington. I like that they have probably like a 10 deep roster, but they're not going to be
Now,
anything more than a play-in team at best. Even with Beal going off, I love Bradley Beal, but even with Beal going off,
well, that leads me to my final question. I don't have much to say about the Wizards. I have Spencer Dinwiddie on my fantasy team. I think he's going to go off. He can score 20 a game if he's healthy. So I think that was a nice addition for him. At least he'll get the volume. This team blows. That bench is hideous.
it's
At least they
gross.
have.
It's so
I don't know if
gross.
Montrezl Harrell is going to start. He probably isn't.
He
Gafford
is.
will
He
probably
is
start.
not. Mhm.
They have some decent bigs, but it's just not a good roster. And they don't have they have Wes Unseld Jr. as a new coach, so they're not going to be good. But my last question, at least in the East, is going to be: does Bradley Beal get traded this season?
No, I don't think Bradley Beal gets traded. Not during the season. I think it'll be more likely that he gets traded in the offseason next year when they realize the direction that they're going in and he becomes more unhappy. And you know what? I do want to say one thing before we move on to the West. The NFL is kind of shitty when it comes to the offseason and the players and stuff like that, because players literally have no say at all of where they go, who they get drafted by, who they get traded to. They have absolutely no say, except maybe for like the upper echelon. Like I think Aaron Rodgers, if he said he wanted to go somewhere, they would make it happen. If but that's about it. There's very few. If Russell Wilson came out and said, I want to go here, I don't want to play in Seattle anymore, they would figure it out. But they don't really, other than that, they don't really have say. We've seen Hall of Fame caliber players, we've seen all-stars get cut in the offseason, get traded, get cut, whatever, be lead as free agents. We've seen it in the NFL. In the NBA, the players have all the control. I like that the players have more say, but I feel like in the NBA, they have too much sway and too much say. And I feel like it kind of impacts the product in a way. And I feel like it's only going to get worse. And I think it's something that people need to think about and talk about. And I think it's something that's going to come up more. And I think it goes beyond like the big threes or the super teams or anything like that. It goes beyond that. It's guys like Kyrie Irving who can sign a big fat free agent contract and then decide, you know what, I don't want to get a vaccine, so I'm not going to play. Now he's not going to get paid, they say, I think, for every game or something like that. And I know
Paid for the home games, but
yeah. And I know Ben Simmons was getting fined for missing practices and stuff like that. So that's why he showed up reluctantly. But like, it's tacky, dude. Like James Harden forcing his way out of Houston the way he did. It's tacky. Ben Simmons going to practice only so he doesn't get fined and then leaving and pretty much giving an FU to his teammates. It's tacky. Kyrie Irving pulling his bullshit and then saying, oh, if I get traded, I'm going to retire. Even if that's not true, even if he didn't say that, the fact that that's even a rumor, it's absurd. Like, you got a contract, dude.
well, these things have been collectively bargained, and that's the problem.
I know that. I know that.
One in favor of the players, whereas you look at the NFL, it hasn't. It really hasn't.
I think there's a middle ground. I think there's a middle ground. Because in baseball, you don't see this in baseball. You don't see this in hockey. Even though it's like hockey is a soft cap and baseball has no cap, you don't see a baseball superstar saying, "Oh, this team is ass. I got to get traded."
But they do make trade demands. It's just different, though. They have plenty of their own problems anyway. They have labor strikes and issues with their unions. But the basketball one is its own entity. Let's just stick to the basketball. I do believe that the players do have a little bit too much sway and control, but that's what's going to happen when they have guaranteed contracts. Yes, the behavior is a little different in baseball, but also in the NBA, they just have so much more influence and impact and so much more to do. And they're the centerpiece of a global brand, basically, with how popular basketball is. Obviously, they make 30, 40, $50 million a year. It's insane how much NBA players make. They're everything to a franchise. So because of the structure of just the game itself, it kind of lends itself to what's going on. It doesn't mean it's okay. I don't like it either. And there should be a middle ground, but I feel like it's always hard to get there. And especially when you are bargaining between the owners and the players union, especially if the players feel like they have more control right now, they're not going to want to give that away. The most it'll be is, maybe increased fines and things of that nature. But other than that, I don't think we're going to be changing anything anytime soon, unfortunately. It's just, you don't want to piss off your players because they are the product. They are what bring fans in. I agree. It's bad when you see teams outright tanking at the end of the year, but that's been going on forever. Really, maybe not to such extremes in some ways, but at teams, there's no benefit to being in the middle.
You're not wrong. Let's move on to the West, Bob. The Northwest Division is going to be an interesting one. The Northwest Division might be one of the strongest ones, even though they have one of the worst teams in the league in Oklahoma City. The Nuggets and the Jazz should both be competing for the top seed in the West, if healthy. The Trailblazers should easily be in the playoff conversation. Are they contenders? No, probably not, pending injuries elsewhere in the West. But the Blazers with Lillard are one of the better teams in the league. And they should very well make a push for the playoffs in the middle part of the West. And Minnesota's got talent, Bob. I know we talked about this earlier in the chat, and I'm going to let you talk your piece on the T-Wolves, but they have talent. They have the talent to, at the very least, if Anthony Edwards takes a step forward in his second season, as he did in the second half of his rookie year, where he ran away with the rookie of the year as the rookie of the year. But if he takes that next step forward, they're not going to challenge for a division crown. Absolutely not. The Nuggets and the Jazz can be the top two seeds in the West. But Bob, shouldn't the Minnesota T-Wolves at least challenge for a playoff spot?
They absolutely should based on the talent, but I just don't trust this team. It's very much like the Sacramento Kings for me. These two franchises have just been abysmal for the better part of 15 years or so. They've just been jokes of the league along with the Knicks. And to me, they're going to continue to do so. It's nice when you have all this young talent, but we see so many teams that collect young talent and just goes nowhere. Kings are even more notorious for that, I feel like, with how many top 10 picks they've made over the years. They rarely have really traded those assets, but they just seemingly always pick the wrong guy. Case in point, Marvin Bagley a few years ago over Luka Doncic and Trae Young, who are now superstars. Bagley, when he's healthy, is a good player, but he's rarely ever healthy. And even so, he's not nearly the caliber of those two players. But regardless, with the T-Wolves, I just don't trust that organization. I don't trust their new head coach, Chris Finch, to get the best out of these players. They have other pieces like Jaden McDaniels, who had a nice rookie season last year, Pat Beverly, Taurean Prince, decent vets off the bench, but overall just not a deep team. I think the D'Angelo Russell trade was just hideous, giving up that first round pick that the Warriors got last year. Luckily for the T-Wolves, it wasn't in the top 5, but still not what they wanted to see. Or maybe it wasn't top 5. They traded back, didn't they?
I believe so. I'd have to look about that. But
then the key is Cat. Cat's a great player, but I don't think he wants to be an elite player. I think he just doesn't care enough about defense, and he maybe is difficult to coach. Hopefully he'll change that narrative. He's still young enough to do so. I believe he's 26, but he's got to really improve. They should compete for a playoff spot, but will they? I have my doubts.
Dude, how many teams in the league right now do you think would have potentially 4 20-point scorers in their starting lineup and not make the playoffs? D'Lo could drop 20 any night. Malik Beasley can drop 20 any night. He's shown that. Anthony Edwards is also a walking bucket. The athleticism is through the roof. Cat's a walking double-double. One of the better, even though if his stats are empty stats, he still puts up stats. Like,
it's not going to matter if they give up 125 a game.
You're not wrong. And even adding Pat Beverly off, in the offseason to help off the bench on defense, and Taurean Prince isn't I think enough to make them relevant. But for the rest of the division, Bob, we've got two legitimate championship contenders in the Nuggets and the Jazz. Which team is better?
I really love the Nuggets. I know you don't, but I'd say the Jazz, and that's mainly because Jamal Murray's out. It's unfortunate that he tore his ACL toward the end of last year. Really a damn shame. Hopefully he can be back for the playoff push for the Nuggets, maybe in March or April. We'll
What
see.
did he tear it in April? Something
He
like
tore
that.
it a little later than that because the season started later, as you know. It started in December. So I think he tore it in either late April or like early May. It was close
Gross.
to playoff time. So it'll be about a year by that time this playoff season. We'll see if he's able to come back. In the meantime, a guy like Monty Morris is going to have to step it up for them. Joker maybe gets even more passing statistics. He's already a guy who can get a triple double on any given night. But Michael Porter Jr., or as Chuck Barkley might say, Michael Jr. Porter is going to continue his ascent.
MJP.
Yeah, be one of the better players in the NBA. Jeff Green, JaMychal Green, there's some nice backups in the front court, but missing Jamal Murray is going to hurt them. So I think the Jazz are better. They bring back pretty much the exact same core. They bring in Hassan Whiteside, which I think is perfect. I think they'll resurrect his career. He'll be able to have an impact, be very similar to Gobert, where he can get blocks, suck at shooting free throws, not be very useful around the rim, except maybe put back dunks. Gobert is clearly a superior player, but Hassan Whiteside, I think, is a nice addition there. I think the Jazz are the team to beat here in this division.
Couldn't agree more. I love me some Spida, some Donovan Mitchell, him and Rudy. I don't like Rudy's game, but God damn it, it works in real life, man. And it works.
He keeps racking up,
and he keeps
racking up DPOY awards. So,
screw it, man. If you're gonna keep racking up the defensive player of the year and shit, do you, man? And the Jazz do have some quality depth: Clarkson, Ingles, Rudy Gay, Eric Pascal, Hassan Whiteside. That second unit is quality.
Well, they were the number one seed last year, so they very well could be again this year. I don't see why not.
Well, fuck not. What about, you know what, Oklahoma City and Portland? I think OKC is very simple. They're going to be they're going to tank again. They're just going to keep stacking up assets.
Sam Presti just traded for 3 more picks while you're talking.
I believe it. I 100% believe it. Man's a legend. It's just stacking up picks. They're going to have a young squad. They're going to lose a lot of games. Gilgeous-Alexander is one of the best young players in the league. They locked him up to a fat contract, so they clearly see him as part of their future. And Josh Giddey has been getting some offseason buzz and could be, useful as an all-around player as he develops and gets better in the league and gets comfortable. But you were talking about the Magic contending for a number one seed, number one pick overall. Oklahoma City is not going to be too far behind, dude.
Nope. And Shea is a good player, but he's another one who needs to stay on the court. Josh Giddey, the 6th overall pick from Australia. I think he's going to show a lot of growing pains, but will be better for it later in the year. And then Lugie Dort is a piece that he can really contribute. He can shoot threes. He's gotten better each and every year. He's a good defender. He's a player that maybe will surprise this year, but still, this team's going to stink. Yep. So they're going to contend for the number one pick. And then as far as Portland, this is a team that a lot of people are feeling are going to fall off. Big part of that is that Lillard may be disgruntled, maybe wants out. They lost Carmelo Anthony in the offseason to the Lakers. For the most part, they retain the same team. Zach Collins is gone as well, but they made the trade last trade deadline where they got Norman Powell from the Raptors. A full season out of him should be nice. They bring in Larry Nance. I think that's a nice get for them.
Cody Zeller.
There's a debate over what Lillard wants. He actually didn't like the Chauncey Billups hire, it seemed. I think Billups could be a good coach. A lot of those former point guards tend to be good coaches in the NBA. I hope Lillard sticks it out. He's a loyal guy, though. I think he will. I don't think he'll get traded this season. But this Blazers team could be definitely trending down. Lillard's already 32 or so. He's still playing great basketball. I don't think he's going to fall off or anything, but he's going to at some point figure, I'm not going to win here. It's obvious already.
Where do you rank a Damian Lillard? Not in fantasy, in real life, where do you rank Damian Lillard in the league amongst the superstars that we have? Because let's not get it twisted. Lillard is a unquestionable top 10
Yeah,
player in the league right
absolutely.
now. And after like Durant, Giannis, Doncic, there's a few guys ahead of him. But after like the no brainers for shows, the Giannis, the Doncic, etc., there's not many players in the league who are better than Lillard. Where do you rank Lillard right now going into this upcoming season amongst the best players in the league?
He's in that 8 to 10 range for sure. He's not as good as Durant. I still put LeBron ahead of him. Of course, LeBron's got to be healthy, but
Mm-hmm.
so we can say the same for almost all these guys, except
Of
for say
course, of
Greek,
course.
Jokic, and Doncic, as we talked about fantasy.
Shit, even
Love
even
those guys because they pretty much play every game.
if AD is healthy, AD is a
Oh,
top 5 player.
1000%. He's one of the best players. Harden. So all those guys I just mentioned, I still think are better. So I've named about 7. So I'd probably put him 8. We have some ascending players like Beal and Tatum, but I'd still take Lillard over
Trey,
both of them. Trey Young, clearly on the rise. He'll
Donovan
pass him at
Mitchell's
some
on the
point.
rise.
Of course, those guys are definitely barking up that tree. Who else? I'm definitely forgetting someone. Cat's a really good player, but I wouldn't put him ahead of Lillard at all. Lillard's a better
Agreed.
player.
Brad Beal.
Steph Curry, I think, is better than Damian Lillard.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd probably put Lillard probably 9. Is about where I
Okay,
put.
I like it. Okay, now moving on. Let's get out of the Northwest. Let's go into the Pacific, where it's sunny, the girls are beautiful, the water's warm. Golden State. Do you take them as a serious threat, Bob, going into this season?
No, I don't. I think they'll be a good team. They're going to be plucky. They're going to be difficult. It's just a matter of when Klay Thompson comes back. That's the key. And how much can he play? How quickly can he get ramped up? It's going to be tough after coming off back-to-back major injuries, torn ACL, then tearing an Achilles. It's bad, but they're hoping he can maybe return in either December or January, but they're not going to rush it either. This team will at least tread water enough with Curry, Wiggins, Draymond Green. You have Andre
Iggy,
Iguodala back with the team. I think Otto Porter, this is a perfect situation for him to resurrect his career a little bit and
Jordan
show that he
Poole,
is Jordan Poole, a hot commodity in the fantasy market because people think he's going to go off as he's starting.
superstar.
He might just because they need someone else to shoot the ball. It's ugly out there outside of Wiggins and Curry when, because Clay's not healthy, of course.
Chef is going to average 35 a game.
he probably will win the scoring title. Greg's probably right with his predictions. We'll get there soon. That's another one we got to do is scoring title. But the Warriors will compete. They're going to be a playoff team, in my opinion. But no, they're not a serious contender, even if Clay is
Okay.
back. James Wiseman is also going to be key when he's healthy. If he can show his potential and improve with this team, that'll be a real key as to whether they can actually contend late in the year.
One thing with that is when Curry, Wiseman, and Green played together, Curry and Green were actually statistically worse than when Wiseman wasn't playing, which leads me to believe that Wiseman will, at the very least early on, when he gets healthy, come off the bench behind Kevin Looney, because Looney seems to fit in better with what they're trying to do. Even if they go with an actual center, Dre might end up being the starting center. As we know, they have to go small, and Iggy starts at the two, or even the 3, and Poole starts at the 2. This team is right, but I'm going to agree with you. I think they're going to be good, but they need Clay. And the big question is, when is Clay going to come back? Because now it's 2 years removed from his major injury. When is he going to come back? I know I've seen the videos of him shooting in the gym and whatever. That shot doesn't get any worse at all. That man doesn't need to step on an NBA court. He's still one of the best shooters on the planet. And it doesn't even matter that he hasn't played basketball on with his
Doesn't.
team in 2 years. It doesn't
Well,
at all.
as we know, you need to be able to cut and jump and run and
Right.
move laterally. So yes, of course, you can fill it up, but is he going to be ready to play 30 to 35 minutes right away? No, they're going to ease him in.
No.
We know NBA teams do a lot these days, or pretty much across all sports. They ease
Can he
guys in.
come? Can he come back fully healthy by Christmas, a little after New Year's?
That's what they hope. I think with the play-in, there's a little more room for error, as we know. But them basically, if they're going to become a contender, they either need Wiseman to really step up, or one of the rookies they drafted in the lottery, either Jonathan Kuminga or Moses Moody, needs to really hit the ground running and be able to be a double-digit scorer off the bench, someone that can handle the rock. So you're not relying on the Jordan Pooles and Damian Lees of the world. They've had their moments. They're not bad players. They can play in a rotation, but these are lottery picks for a reason. They're supposed to contribute.
Honestly, I don't think we're going to see much of Moody or Kuminga at the very least for the first half of the season, mostly because the Warriors, for all intents and purposes, from everything that I've read, are in win now mode. And they don't want to risk falling behind too much trying to develop guys. So you're right. I agree with you. I think for the way this team is currently constructed, with Clay not being quite healthy and whatever, they're going to want to lean on some of these young guys, these two young guys, lottery picks, as you mentioned, try to fill some of that in their lineup. But I don't think we're going to see too much of them. I wouldn't buy too high on them. But
no, that's why I'm saying they would need them to be a contender. They show out later in the season when they need to get other guys some rest and they play more, they get more acclimated as time goes on. Yeah, they're not going to really crack the rotation early on at all. I'm just saying they also need to showcase them as well at some point, especially say in the new year. Maybe they don't play a lot early on, but they're in win now mode, right? Well, they're going to probably want to package one of those guys. You can't have him just sitting on the pine. If Moses Moody plays some games and he goes off, that increases trade value. They package him and some other player, maybe Wiseman even, and whatever picks they have, and maybe get that next star that they need. Could Towns go there? Beal could be.
I was just about to say, do you have a particular player in mind, Bob, that might go to Golden State at some point?
I hope not, because I'm tired of seeing the Warriors team like that. But the T-Wolves, I think Towns would make a ton of sense. We know they've made deals before, even though the T-Wolves got hosed. I think that's definitely an avenue they could explore. I don't think Beal makes them a championship contender. I think Towns, with that system, with that organization, would hopefully buy in. It would be interesting pairing him again with Wiggins, but having Dre and Steph and Clay there, that's a scary good team.
Now, we know Sacramento is going to be bad, but De'Aaron Fox is one of the up-and-coming young studs in the league.
How bad, though? I actually like the Kings. Problem is they're the Kings.
Yeah. That's
been a hell of a division. This division's insane.
And if Bagley's not healthy, that means you got to start Harrison Barnes at the 4. You got to hope you get something out of him, because who's going to be their starting 3? Mo Harkless? It's gross, because Tyrese Halliburton and Davion Mitchell should come off the bench. They don't really have much depth to speak of. Tristan Thompson, who they brought in the offseason, is going to back up Rashawn Holmes at center. So they don't really have many options aside from Bagley. So if Bagley gets hurt, it really kind of throws a wrench into their whole shit. But them aside, Phoenix made it to the NBA Finals, Bob. The Lakers have LeBron. The Clippers should be in that conversation for championship contenders, but there's a problem. There's a gaping hole in this starting lineup, and I'm trying to see who am I missing. Oh, that's right. Just maybe a top 3 player in the NBA in Kawhi Leonard. Bob, is Paul George going to carry the Clippers to relevance this season, or are they just going to hover around the mid-card and just plunge into mediocrity when he inevitably misses 20 games?
They're going to hover around mediocrity. I feel like this is a chance for Terrence Mann to expand on what he showed last playoffs. He might. He showed out in that playoff series and really took over in one of those games. I think it was against the Mavs, if I remember correctly. Could be wrong. It might have been in the semifinals. But either way, the Clippers without Kawhi aren't going to be the same. It's obvious. They even with Kawhi these past couple of years, they were still kind of struggling to really find their footing at times. They still wound up with a decent seed, but weren't the number one or number two, no doubt seed like we thought they would be. And
Right.
now they don't have Kawhi pretty much for the entire season. He partially tore his ACL. At best, he'll be back in March.
He's out for the year. Let's
Yeah,
be
we know
honest,
it's Kawhi. So
let's
he's
be
going to be out.
honest.
And I remember Jeff Van Gundy saying this is the most talented team last year. BS. The playoffs showed that wasn't true. They had one of the more talented rosters, but it's fugly right now. I don't trust Reggie Jackson over a full season. Eric Bledsoe is a shell of his former self. This team's going to struggle. They're still going to be in the playoff mix because 10 teams make it, sort of. But I'll explain that later because Dan hates. But the Clippers, they're going to struggle. And Paul George, I think, will put up nice stats, of course, but he's definitely a dangerous candidate, particularly in fantasy, because I feel like if they're out of it toward the end of the year, they might pull Raptors, honestly. Why risk Paul George? If they don't hit the ground running and they start off slow, there may come a point where they're just like, why are we going to kill Paul George? We won't play him on back-to-backs. Primarily.
All right, hold on.
And then at some point they'll probably just rest him.
Bob, over under Paul George games that he plays. Over under 48 games.
Over. I do think he plays more than that. I think he'll play most of the season, but he can get injured anyway. It might not even be resting. He's had his own issues as well, back and knee injuries. It could happen. He's on the wrong side of 30 also.
So we both agree on the Clippers, but let's go to their arena roommates, if you will, the Lakers. They only have three players coming back from last year's team, and two of them are LeBron and AD, the other one being Taylor Horton-Tucker. Literally every other piece of their roster is brand new. As of now, it looks like their starting lineup is going to be at least stacked with 3 all-stars. They added Russell Westbrook in the offseason. It was a huge get. It took everybody by surprise for the most part when it happened. I mean, once it happened, it was like, okay, kind of made sense, but it was kind of weird the kind of fit with Westbrook, LeBron, and AD, because we know LeBron succeeds when he has players around him who can shoot, who can spread the floor for him, let him get to the basket at will, pretty much, because he's still, even at, what is he, 37?
Yes, he's 37 now.
Even at that age, which 99% of players are either retired or taking significantly smaller roles than they might be used to, even if they're superstar, all-stars, Hall of Famers. Once you get to that age, you kind of reach that point where you're willing to take a lesser role for someone else to carry you. Well, LeBron is still LeBron. We still expect him to do special things. We still expect him to lead this team to maybe the best record in the West if everything goes right, which it never does. And yeah. But Bob, LeBron, AD, and Westbrook, how do you feel about this fit with Westbrook and Bron and AD? And do you think adding Westbrook makes the Lakers the favorite in the West?
I do think it makes them the favorites. If you're going by the Vegas odds, they are the favorites. They're at 52.5 for the over-under. Pretty sure that's the highest. Let's see what the Jazz are. They might be actually higher. So yeah, Jazz are the only team higher, 53.5. Okay. But I do believe it makes them the favorites in the West. They probably won't live up to it just because they're going to be more concerned about the playoffs and making sure guys are well rested and prepared for that. But I love this Lakers team, honestly. Your first point before I dive into that more, I don't think Westbrook's as good as a fit as probably Bradley Beal would have been, but Bradley Beal would have cost more because he's younger. He's better at this point in his career. But Westbrook, I think, will allow them to, as I've talked about with you guys in other conversations, Allow LeBron to rest comfortably and handle that, or handle the second unit. Or Davis is out for an extended period of time. You have that other go-to guy that you can rely on with the ball in his hands. They didn't have that
Yep.
last. When LeBron was out, it was like, what are we going to do? We're screwed.
Yep. Yep.
Dennis Schroeder wasn't that good. They didn't have anyone else step up. They were relying on Kyle Kuzma, and it was just bad. It was
gross.
awful when they were injured. But now they have depth.
Disgusting.
Yes, they had have a lot of old heads, but there's really no weakness. They go 2 squads deep. You start LeBron, AD, either DeAndre Jordan or Dwight Howard, Kent Bazemore probably. Then you have Rondo off the bench, Carmelo they brought in. They got Trevor Ariza, who's hurt right now, but he'll be back. Taylor Horton Tucker, a young player that they wouldn't part with in the Kyle Lowry deal that they could have potentially had last year. But I think they're better off for it now, seeing how this roster is constructed. I'd rather have Russell Westbrook than Kyle Lowry. So I think they're built for it. And even Nunn and Monk are young players that they brought in from the Heat and the Hornets, respectively. They're deep. They have a lot of quality NBA players, and they have 5 or 6 future Hall of Famers on the squad. They're going to be fun to watch. They're going to be good. They're star-studded like a Lakers team should be. I don't like the Lakers. I don't want to see another Lakers title, but this is going to be a really effing good team.
Are you not at all concerned about the injury concerns that are riddled within this roster? And it goes beyond LeBron sitting games for rest or whatever the problem is, or AD sitting because his eyebrow is sore. We know Russell Westbrook ain't going to miss any games unless he's actually injured. But DeAndre Jordan, meh. Dwight, meh. Trevor's already hurt. Rondo's getting older. Kent Bazemore's got an injury history. Are you not concerned about the A, injury concerns of this team, and B, the age of this team as the season wears on? Because we're not playing a shortened season.
No.
We're playing a regular NBA season. It's starting when it should, as it normally would if, in a non-COVID world. So we're playing a regular schedule. We're playing a full schedule. You're not at all concerned about the injuries and the age issues on this team, not in any way, shape, or form?
Nope. Unlike a lot of other people who want to bring that up, it makes sense. I definitely understand that argument, but because they've acquired so many quality pieces, that's why I'm not concerned. I feel they are that deep. Not only do they have a good second unit, I even like some of their 11th, 12th guys. When you look at someone like Avery Bradley or Wayne Ellington, I know what they can do for me. I can trust in them. And then I do think there's a blend of some young players like Horton Tucker, Kendrick Nunn, Malik Monk. The problem I see is that, yes, they don't really have someone young in the front court, but Dwight was great for them when he was there. He's still in phenomenal shape. He's not going to play a lot of minutes, so he's going to be managed pretty well. DeAndre Jordan, I think, sucks now, but
yeah, he's a DeAndre Jordan, I think he sucks now. Nice. Real nice, Bob. Why don't you tell us how you really feel? He's just useless.
I just napalmed
Yeah.
Fucking DeAndre Jordan's bitch ass.
Just light him up, Bob.
Boy, he was awful. And Sean Marks sold him away to the Pistons. They out. But regardless, I do not have those concerns because I think they're just so deep. Now, yeah, if one of those big three, particularly LeBron or AD, has a major injury that keeps them out of the playoffs, yeah, then I'm really concerned. But as far as I think even if those guys are in and out of the lineup, they've acquired enough depth as opposed to what they had last year that they're going to be able to overcome it.
Okay. Now you, Bob, are one of the biggest, I want to say, for the lack of a better word, supporters of a team's continuity. This team doesn't have that.
Nope.
A majority of these players have never played together in the NBA. Yeah, Melo's played with Bron and AD in the Olympics and shit like that, but they've never played together in the NBA over the course of 82 games. As someone who is well established on this show, as someone who likes continuity and likes to point to continuity on these teams as a part of their success.
Yes.
You also have no concerns about their lack of continuity in that they literally only return 3 players from last year's team.
Do I have to say it another different way for you to understand? They have so
Tell
much
me.
depth and NBA quality players that's why I don't
Okay.
think it matters. And that's even in the beginning of what I said. I mentioned I don't necessarily think they're going to be a 1 seed because they're going to have injuries. They're going to rest players. And okay, that's another good point that I forgot to bring up. It's perfect. You're right. I do like continuity. They're going to have some chemistry issues early on, but they're going to figure it out. They're just too good. They have some of the best players in the world. They have when they're healthy, 2 of the top 5 players in the NBA. Mm-hmm. And Westbrook, when he's on, he's a top 15 player at this point in his career. He's a walking triple double. We know this. Mm-hmm. I just feel like with the depth, the quality of players, they're maybe not going to be the 1 or 2 seed, but just get in the playoffs. They're probably, and even with that said, I still think they're going to be successful, even if someone misses time. They're going to be right around that 2 to 4 range, in my opinion. I don't think they'll be with the number 1 seed, but I do feel they're going to be so good. It's just not going to matter whether someone's in or out of the lineup.
Now, I want to say one more thing about the Lakers before we move on. And I've said this to Bob off the air, and I want to preface what I'm about to say by saying it's not going to happen. There is a 0% chance that this happens. But as far as the team, how it's assembled, I personally think it makes a lot of sense. I would love to see the Lakers have Westbrook run the second unit. Not that he doesn't start, because he's absolutely starting, but let him start. And then, you sit LeBron and AD for a bit, let them get their legs and rest on him, because, LeBron's old and AD, he just needs a strong gust of wind to get hurt on any given day. But let Russell Westbrook take over that second unit. Why do I say that? Because what was one of the biggest issues with the Lakers last season? It was that when LeBron wasn't in the game, everything kind of just stopped. Nothing good happened on offense. Schroeder wasn't quite right. This team got nothing going from their second unit, and that was a big problem. Westbrook will start, but if you rest LeBron and AD, you sit them down at some point, leave Russ out there. Let him play 38 minutes a game. Just do it live. And let him run with the second unit and let him get that triple double that he's used to and just ball out. That's what their second unit was lacking last season. Now, let's be honest, Bob. If Westbrook, LeBron, and AD are sitting, there is literally nothing about this team that's impressive. And I'm not even talking about injuries, but the second unit, is it better than it was last year? Yes. On paper, because it's not Kyle Kuzma and Montrezl Harrell and Dan Corndaddy. It's Carmelo Anthony and a useful Trevor Ariza and so on and so forth. I just want to say I think Russ should get more burn with the second unit.
No, you make some very tangent points with that. I agree with it. I just, as we discussed,
it's just not
it's going to happen. Right?
No, not at all. None. 0% chance. I just want to throw it out there. So in the off chance that it does, I look like a goat. But anyway, now, Bob, here's another question that partially connects to the Lakers. Even with the Lakers in their current state, are you not at all concerned about the Phoenix Suns? They made the championship. They returned a majority of their roster fully intact. They've added a couple of quality pieces in JaVale McGee and Landry Shamet. Are they superstars? No. Are they anything special on their own, individuals? No. But Shamet's a damn good shooter off the bench. That's where he makes his money. JaVale McGee, good defender off the bench, paint, protector, etc. That's something they were looking for because DeAndre Ayton plays no defense. Are you not at all concerned about the Phoenix Suns?
I am if I'm the Lakers, but I'm concerned about that whole division. Every team's going to be a pain in the ass, even the Kings. There's a lot of talented players in this division. It is
Nah, but hold on.
easily the
But
best
hold on.
division.
Let's be honest. The Kings to the Suns, there is a very clear difference. It is a substantial difference. We're going from a quote unquote potential playoff team to a championship contender.
Oh, definitely. So you didn't let me finish, but yes, of course the Suns are going to be the most difficult task. It's going to be tough for the Lakers. You're saying from the perspective of the Lakers, really, because you said
From the perspective of the Lakers,
I
yeah.
think, yeah, I'm definitely concerned about the Suns. They should be the biggest competition. It's not the Clippers this year, as everyone had thought it would be for the last few years. No Kawhi means they're not going to be as good. The Warriors, we talked about some of the holes they have, and the Suns are coming off representing the West. But I think they're gonna struggle at times. They're still gonna be a very good team. They bring everyone back intact, so yes, the continuity is there. But I also think they overachieved last year. I don't think they're a number 2 seed. I think they're more like a 4 or 5 seed, really, which isn't anything to scoff at. That's still a very good spot if you make the playoffs. I expect Chris Paul to still do his thing, but he's going to miss 10 to 12, 15 games in the year. They decided not to give the max extension to DeAndre Ayton. We'll see how that plays out toward the end of the season.
Let's go Knicks.
And then they did extend Mikael Bridges, I believe 4 years, $90 million they gave him. Devin Booker, all-star, going to continue to get better. So they're going to be a very good team. They have a solid bench. I don't love it. I think that's where I feel like the Lakers are better. I think where the Lakers, they won the offseason in a sense, and maybe they'll start off slow because they don't have all that rhythm and chemistry that the Suns already do after last year. But talent wins out in the NBA, and I just love the depth of the Lakers. So I'm kind of giving it away, but yeah, the Lakers are going to be the team that I predict to win this division, but Suns are not far behind at all. That is the chief concern if I'm the Lakers, is that not pretty much all those teams breathing down my back, but yes, the Suns most of all.
Do you think the Suns have a realistic shot to maybe not make the finals, but at the very least make the Western Conference Finals?
Yes. The West, it's funny, is kind of top heavy. I don't think it's as deep as the East, honestly. I don't really love some of the teams in that 9 or 10 range, like the Grizzlies and the Pelicans. Not that it's any world beaters on the East. I think both conferences are pretty strong. But the Suns definitely can compete. I don't love the Mavs. We're going to get to the Southwest very shortly. That division sucks. One of the worst.
That division sucks.
Nice. So but the Pacific is just gonna be crazy. There's a lot of good teams there.
Now let's move on to the Southwest, Bob. I think it's fair to say that we will both look at the Dallas Mavericks very favorably. They themselves are ushering in a new era of sorts, seeing as they will have a new head coach. Jason Kidd comes over from the Lakers, and they will have a new general manager, Nico Harrison, who is formerly the Nike vice president of North American operations, has absolutely no basketball experience, or I'm sorry, no NBA experience as a front office member. But aside from the coach and from the front office, Bob, I don't think it fucking matters who's out there coaching or putting the team together, because you got Luka, who is a top 5 NBA player guaranteed. Doesn't matter who you're speaking to. MVP candidate, all-star, future Hall of Famer. And the team around him is it's pretty all right, Bob. Wouldn't you agree?
It's all right. I don't. It's love all right. Team. I don't.
It's pretty all right. It's not the Lakers. It's not some of these other. It's not the Nuggets. It's not the Jazz. But
they should cruise.
This is a good squad.
They should cruise in this division just based off Luka alone. But that's the question: if he were to ever get hurt, what it would look like. But Dallas still is the most talented team here. Jason Kidd steps into a nice situation. I don't think he'll be a very good coach. He didn't show he was one with the Nets or the Bucks. Nope. So I don't really like the long-term prospects of him as the coach there.
Okay.
But the question is, all right, yeah, they're going to win the division, but it's not like some other sports where that automatically gives you a top seed. It's still now based on overall record. So that's curious what you think really is where they're going to wind up in those 1 to 10 rankings, because this team is not a top 3 team at all.
No.
Now, yeah, if the division winners like they used to automatically got a top 3 seed, we'd definitely both be saying they're 3. They're not nearly as good as the teams that might win the Northwest or Pacific. So where do you see them? How many wins do you see them getting? I just don't like this overall roster. They're not deep. They have some nice pieces, some shooters. It's not a terribly constructed team, but it's clearly missing that other star to help Luka. That's obvious. But I'm not crazy about some of these guys. They're very streaky players when you have Tim Hardaway and Jalen Brunson, Kristaps Porzingis, even very good player when he's on the court, but even it sometimes doesn't always show up.
I would feel a lot more comfortable if you told me Kristaps Porzingis was going to be healthy this season. Because let's be completely honest, Kristaps Porzingis is one of the more talented big men in the NBA right now. And if we were going to take the health completely out of the equation, one might put Porzingis as one of the top 5 big men in the league, because he truly is a unicorn. He has the perfect combination for today's NBA of length and skill. You could play him at the 4. You could play him at the 5. You could put him in the paint. You could put him on a pick and roll as the fade guy to go after the 3-point arc. You could have him as a point forward if you wanted him to bring up the ball up court. Kristaps Porzingis has all the talent that you look for. The only problem is health is a big part of it. You can't ignore the health portion of it. And Porzingis is a guaranteed miss 20 to 30 games a season. It's a guarantee. If they want to rest him, if he gets hurt, if he rolls out of bed and his teeth hurt when he brushed them, he ain't going to start. So, if you were telling me that Kristaps Porzingis was healthy and would play 65 games, I would say, you know what? Luka has that Robin to his Batman, because Porzingis has that talent. The man can score. The man can get those blocks. He could do some special shit. He's not ass. It's just the health that kills him. I'm with you that I look at this team and I don't see a top 4, top team. I really don't. And it sucks because when Doncic was coming into the league, the questions were surrounding his athleticism. Oh, we knew he was skilled. We knew he could get to the basket. But was he really going to be able to hang with these athletes, with these world-class athletes that he would be expected to cover and ball with and whatever? And the answer is yes. There's a resounding yes. It doesn't matter what these athletes around him would do. Luka does what Luka does, and he balls out. Tim Hardaway could drop 20 any night. Porzingis could do something special on any night. But I'm gonna agree with you. Even though this might be the team to beat in their division, they're not quite right.
There's something off about them. They're gonna win the division, but they're not a championship contender. There's probably 2 teams in the Northwest and 3 in the Pacific that can compete.
Now, Bob, with the Southwest, aside from the Mavericks, you don't have any confidence that Zion's gonna lead the Pelicans to a division crown or something special in the regular season. You don't have any confidence in Ja Morant taking that next step. Let that man average 25 a game with 9 assists. You don't think that's enough to lead the Memphis Grizzlies to a division crown? It's Dallas and everybody else.
Yeah, I do love Ja Morant and Zion Williamson, 2 great players that the Knicks could have had, but didn't. But I still like Barrett, but that's another story. I feel like with New Orleans, we don't know what Willie Green's going to be as the head coach. They, of
Hmm.
course, are one of the 8 teams that has a new head coach, not a sexy hire. Rick Carlisle was the sexiest hire of the offseason and definitely the best one.
Hmm.
Devontae Graham goes there, but it's just not a good roster. They lose
They got
Lonzo Ball in the
Graham.
trade.
They got Graham and Valanciunas and Sadaransky as key pieces this offseason.
They need Zion healthy, but that's always the question. He's another one who battles injuries. He's going to miss the beginning of the season already, so he's going to miss games. Brandon Ingram kind of regressed a little last year. He wasn't as good defensively as he was the year before. I think he'll bounce back. I do like his long-term prospects. Still super young, still only 23 or 24, and he's locked up. I like the Pelicans a little more than the Grizzlies, at least on paper, but I feel like there's a better vibe around the Memphis Grizzlies and that they seem to, at least when the core is together, they play better as a unit, as a team, and they do have some continuity there. They have Taylor Jenkins, the same head coach. So I look at the Pelicans roster. I think it's more talented, certainly, than the Grizzlies. But I just kind of like how the Grizzlies play more, and they play a more defensive style too. They're not just run and gun up and down like the Pelicans tend to be over the last few years. Maybe that'll change under Willie Green, but I don't think either of these teams challenges Dallas. They will be plucky and difficult to play. They're going to be in that mix for the play-in.
Plucky. I hate it.
I said it. That's my second time in the podcast.
Son of a bitch.
I think I'm done for tonight on that.
And no more plucky.
Those are the next 2 teams. The Spurs. DeJounte Murray could very well take a nice step, of course, and I think he will. He's going to have to with obviously LaMarcus Aldridge wasn't there yet last year, and then the trade DeMar DeRozan. But I just don't like that team overall.
Fair enough. Okay.
And Keldon Johnson, there's just not enough scoring on that team. Lonnie Walker, Devin Vassell, maybe they'll step up and going into their second, third years. But it's just a team that's not good enough. Popovich can only do so much, and even last year they didn't even make the playoffs anyway. So the Spurs are just still kind of stuck in neutral.
The Spurs are stuck in neutral. The Rockets are going to be, but they might have a rookie be their leading scorer.
Oh, Jalen Green, though. He's going to be great.
No, Jalen Green should be great.
I was looking at the roster earlier. One obvious candidate to potentially be traded or just bought out is Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon has no business getting minutes over guys like Kevin Porter or Jalen Green. Hell, I don't even know why they have DJ Augustin on the team either. We already know John Wall's not going to play. They just got to feed Kevin Porter and Jalen Green minutes.
Well, Kevin Porter is currently slated to start at point guard. Jalen Green at the 2 and Gordon at the 3. So we'll see what goes on there. The Rockets are one of the worst teams in the league. I fully expect to see guys like Alperen Sengun and whatever get quality minutes.
Jayshawn Tate's going to play a lot.
Yes, he is. And this team sucks, but
they're bad. We know this. Are we ready?
We're done going over the league. It's time,
finally.
Boy. It's time. Okay, it's time. We're gonna make some predictions. We're gonna run through this mad quick. I'm gonna run down the divisions. I want division winners to start. You ready, boy?
Let's do it.
Atlantic.
Nets.
I'll take the Nets. Central.
Bucks.
I'll take the Bucks. Southeast.
Hawks.
You motherfucker. I'm gonna take Miami. Northwest.
Jazz.
My boy. I'm gonna take the Jazz. Pacific.
Lakers.
Same. Southwest.
Mavs.
All right, now break it down, Bob. In the East, give me your seeds.
All right, so I'm gonna have to go with the Bucks number 1. I'm gonna go with the Nets number 2. I like the Hawks 3. I'm gonna go with the Celtics 4. I'll say the Heat number 5.
Okay.
It's tough. I'll go Bulls 6. I think the Sixers will be 7. I think they're going to struggle with the Ben Simmons cloud around them, and maybe Embiid misses an extended period of time because, as we know, that's always possible. Then it gets a little interesting. 7, the Sixers. I'll go Knicks as the 8 seed.
Knicks. Okay.
And then my playoff, well, the teams are going to be 9 and 10. I'll say the Pacers 9, and I'll go Hornets 10. And so before I go to your picks, just want to quickly mention that they're continuing the playoff format from last year, which is there's going to be 16. The top 6 are guaranteed to make it and be in 7-game series when the playoffs officially start. But teams 7 through 10 are going to play a mini tournament after the season ends. 7 is going to play 8. Whoever wins that is automatically going to be the 7 seed. So you're 7 or 8, you have a nicer advantage because all you need to do is win that one game and you make the playoffs and you're the 7 seed. On the other side, 9 and 10 are going to play each other. Now, whoever loses there is done. They're out. They're going to wind up 10th, and they're not making the playoffs at all. So then those are decided, and the loser of the 7 and 8 game plays the winner of the 9-10 game. So whoever wins that last one winds up being the 8 seed. That's how it works. I'll explain it again if I need to. But basically, only 8 teams really make the best of 7 series that we have. But yes, there will be a play-in of 3 games, basically, where 7 and 8 play each other, 9 and 10 play each other. You just got to try to win those games, and you'll be in good shape. Now, Dan, who do you have seeded 1 through 10?
All right, here we go. I'm going to go Milwaukee 1, Brooklyn 2. I'm gonna go with Miami 3. I'm gonna go with Atlanta 4. I'm gonna go with Chicago 5. I'm gonna go with Boston 6. Then I'm gonna also go with Philly at 7 because I'm gonna agree with you that the Ben Simmons thing is gonna cloud him. I'm gonna go with Indy 8. This last one was difficult because I was struggling with Toronto and Charlotte and the Knicks. I'm gonna go Charlotte and then the Knicks.
Okay, so you have the Knicks 10th. All right.
I think Toronto is gonna be close.
I think that's fair. I agree. I think that the Raptors could be in that mix. But the Magic, Cavs, Pistons, all going to just stink. And probably the Wizards too, especially if they trade Beal.
Bob, give us your West, boy.
All right. This is difficult. So didn't want to do it with the Lakers. So, but at the same time, it's ugly to pick the Jazz to be the number 1 seed again. I'm going to go against what I said before. F it. I'm putting the Lakers number 1. Team's too good. Then I'll go with the Jazz number 2. I'll say the Suns 3, Nuggets 4. We'll go Mavs 5. Let's go with the Warriors 6. Then it gets interesting. It's difficult. I still like the Blazers, man. I'll say 7 for the Blazers, 8 for the Clippers. Grizzlies 9. I really want to pick the Kings. You know what? I'm going to pick the Kings. It's ugly. But going out on a limb for a 10 seed isn't really much. So I'll at least spare that for the audience. But they'll probably not make the playoffs. It's unfortunate. Dan, you're 1 through 10?
The Kings, right?
Yeah, I put 10 the Kings. The Pelicans, clearly the one that was very close. They should be better than maybe the Kings and potentially the Grizzlies, but just don't feel good about the head coach, and I think their defense is going to stink.
Okay. I hate it, but I don't hate it. So I was fighting with this 1 seed for a while. I'm going to go with Utah 1. I think the safe seed. I think they're most likely to to play their guys as much as they need to. I'm gonna go with Utah 1. I don't want to have the same ones as you, Bob, but I'm gonna go Denver 2. I think that's just another safe one because we don't know what the Lakers are gonna do. We don't know how much they're gonna rest these guys. And even still, I might be inclined to take the Lakers as the 3rd seed. I wrote down a list, but now that I'm looking at this list, I hate it. I don't I don't think the 8 teams are going to change. I just hate the order that I did them in. So you know what? I'm going to do it live. I'm going to run it down. I'm going to go Phoenix 4. Golden State 5. Dallas 6.
You had the Lakers 3? Is that right?
I had the Lakers 3.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so Utah, Denver, Lakers, Phoenix, Golden State, Dallas. 7, I have Portland, and I'm going to leave Portland there. 8, 9, and 10.
Big
I feel like I'm gonna say these teams so reluctantly. I'm gonna go with Minnesota 8. I'm gonna go with the Clippers 9. And I'm gonna go with the Pelicans.
Ooh, okay. All right. A little different from me. You had the T-Wolves and Pelicans in there, whereas I had the Grizzlies and Kings, so a little different.
When it comes to the Kings, I like their team. I just don't trust them. I don't. And I think it's because they are the Kings. And it's not like their coach is going to take them over the top or anything like that. They need guys to really step up to make that push, I think.
All right.
And when you compare them to like the Pelicans, the Clippers, the T-Wolves, I just don't see it.
Let's cut to the chase.
And this is assuming health, of course. So, Bob, Eastern Conference Finals, who's it going to be?
You want to do what East and Western Conference Finals also?
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. All right. I was just going to go to NBA Finals.
Do it live.
Well, I think it's going to have to be the Bucks and the Nets in the East. We need that rematch.
Mm-hmm.
Now in the West, I'm going with the Lakers.
Okay, Lakers versus.
I'll go with the Warriors. They get hot, make a little run there, but not enough. I think the Lakers handle them, but maybe the Warriors make a trade somewhere in the offseason, at the trade deadline, swing something nice, or just getting Clay back is like that kind of addition. And if they're at full strength, I was thinking in either them or maybe even the Nuggets. Jamal Murray comes back, and would be a huge spark plug for them. But I'll go out on a limb a little bit and say the Warriors play the Lakers. But I have the Lakers facing the Nets in the finals.
That's the dream matchup, boy.
So who do you have in the East and West finals?
Eastern Conference Finals. I don't want to go with the favorites, man. It's so boring. I really don't trust any of these other teams as they are currently constructed.
Big old sigh. Come on, you can do it.
I'm disgusted, but I'm gonna go with Milwaukee and Brooklyn as well. It's just unless KD and or Harden goes down with an injury, or unless Giannis gets hurt for an extended period of time, these are the best teams. From the West, I think the West is a little more open. So Bob went with the Lakers and Golden State. I think that's awesome. I'm going to go with Utah and the Lakers. Now, who I have emerging from each, I have Utah and I have Brooklyn. And I'm going to have Brooklyn winning it.
All right. Well, I'm going to have the Lakers over the Nets. I think LeBron gets another chip. So you have the Nets over the Jazz. Okay.
Now, this is assuming that the Lakers have to deal with some sort of injury bullshit with either LeBron or with AD. Because if they have LeBron, AD, and Westbrook, I don't think it's any conversation. The Lakers are gonna cruise to a chip.
All right. Well, no hedging your bet.
If they don't have AD and / or LeBron, they're not winning a chip. LeBron at 37 years old isn't the shoo-in guarantee like he was.
All right. Well, I'll make it easy. Finals MVP. I'll go with LeBron for mine. What about you? The Nets.
I'm gonna go with KD.
Yeah.
Now, Bob, here's the fun stuff. MVP, coach, rookie, sixth man, most improved, defensive player of the year. Who are your award winners?
All right. Well, I feel like I was a year early on this one. I'm going to go with Luka Doncic. It may be hard considering that I have him and the Mavs being the 5 seed, but I think he'll probably go off. Maybe he averages a triple-double. Probably not, but I think he's going to be outstanding this year. I'm going to go with Luka.
Luka's your MVP?
Yes.
Now, are we going to flip-flop these, or are we just going to go down the list?
No, I think we should both pick MVP and then go to the next award.
We're going to flip-flop it?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to flip-flop it. I'm going to go with Curry.
I like it. That was another consideration for me.
Because if Bob is going to project the Warriors to go to the chip, Curry's going to have to do something special.
Well, I have them making the Western Finals, but yes, close enough.
But the Western Conference, yeah, they have to do something special. Who's your coach of the year, Bob?
Coach, probably Ime Udoka. It's ugly, but I have him as the 4 seed. Pretty much all the other teams I have in the top 3 are pretty much expected to be there. So I'll go with the rookie head coach of the Boston Celtics, Ime Udoka.
I'm looking at my teams that I put together out east. I don't know how I feel about this list.
Nice.
I'm gonna go with Nate McMillan.
Okay. Oh, the Hawks aren't so much better than the Heat, yet you have them friggin' 3 and 4.
Yeah, no one's impressed by Eric Spoelstra anymore. People will be more impressed if the Hawks are a 4 seed.
Yeah.
All right, rookie of the year,
Jalen Green. Love me some Jalen Green. He's gonna bowl out. Absolutely.
Is he?
He's gonna bowl out. He's gonna get at least every opportunity to. That's for sure.
What about your boy Evan Mobley?
I love Evan Mobley, but just harder for a big man, and he's not going to be able to score like that. They have guys who are going to handle the ball a lot and shoot a lot, in Garland and Sexton. So I just don't see it. I love Mobley, though. Don't get me wrong, but Jalen Green's going to have the best opportunity to score 20-plus points and impact a game on a nightly basis.
I'm going to go Cade Cunningham because you're confused. If Cunningham is healthy, that man's going to get 35 minutes a game, and there should be no reason he's not the rookie of the year.
Love Cade. They just have a few more pieces to use than the Rockets do.
6th man of the year.
These ones are always tough.
They are.
So Jordan Clarkson and Joe Ingles were in the conversation last year. Jordan Clarkson beat out his teammate. I think this guy's going to be coming off the bench, so I really like him. I'm going to go with Tyler Hero. A lot of people love to rip him, and he does need to improve. He was great in the bubble, but then last year was a bit of a disappointment. But now he's set up to succeed. He's talking shit, which I don't love. Doesn't help that prediction. But if he's on the court for 82 games or close to it, he's going to exceed with lesser expectations. They have a big 3 now that Lowry's there. So he's really the 4th scoring option. but he's still going to see heavy minutes. He's still going to play 30 a game. And they do need his scoring too. So it's not like they have an overwhelming amount of options. They're going to need him to contribute like that. So I like Tyler Hero as the sixth man of the year.
Damn it, Bob, you're making it so boring because I was going to go with Tyler Harrell as well.
I'm saying that.
I still want to go with that. You know what? I'm going to go with it too. I like Tyler Harrell. That's my boy. He's another one on my fantasy team. And he's definitely going to play a significant role off the bench. Bob, most improved player.
This is where I'm signed big time because I don't know, man. These are always really difficult. Find someone that's going to make that leap. RJ Barrett. I can only
Yeah. And then you woke up and you had to change your pants.
Yeah. No, I'm not doing that.
No, you're not.
I'm definitely not doing that.
Sounds awful.
You want to go first? I need to think about this. Do you have one?
Really, Bob? Really?
Yes, really. This one's tough. There's a lot of good young players out there that I think are going to make a nice little jump.
I mean, it is the NBA, so anybody could really step up. I'm going to go with Tyrese Halliburton.
That's a good one. I like that.
I'm going to go with Tyrese Halliburton for the Kings because I think even though he's not slated to start, where they drafted him, they took him where they took him for a reason. Yeah, they have Buddy Hield, but Buddy Hield, just for whatever reason, doesn't seem to be a favorite of Luke Walton. So if Buddy Hield's shots ain't dropping early on, or Halliburton's coming off the bench and the second unit is really producing, I think Halliburton can really light it up.
Okay. No, I think that's a very good one. Whew.
But this was tough. There's legit like 6 guys or so that I was considering. And after you make your pick, I'll throw out a few names.
Well, I'll go with this guy. He was in the conversation last year too, but now he's going to have to shoulder more of a burden. That's going to be Michael Porter Jr. Michael Jr. Porter. He's going to have to show out for the Denver Nuggets with Jamal Murray hurt. And it's going to be tough because he was already in the conversation last year. So it's like, oh, how much better can this guy get? But maybe he can score 25 to 27 a game and get 8 or 9 boards. That might be enough. And you really got to look for players in roles where they're going to get a lot of opportunities. Someone like Christian Wood is another candidate for the Rockets. He was already showing that last year. Last year it was Jeremy Grant. That's not going to be this year because people kind of are expecting it now. But Halliburton's a great one too. You definitely look at second and third year players that maybe just haven't gotten enough opportunities yet, or a big name that's in a new market or going to get a lot of burn.
Some other names I want to throw out for this one in particular, because there's a lot. Jaren Jackson Jr., OG Anunoby, Keldon Johnson, Jordan Poole for the Warriors. There's a lot of guys. Like, this is one of those years where we're going to see something special from some names that aren't household names quite yet, but they're going to make a name for themselves in the NBA this season. Now, Bob, last but not least, Defensive Player of the Year.
Depoy. I'll go with Anthony Davis. It's a common one, nothing out of the ordinary, but Gobert's run has to stop. Maybe Davis gets to play more of a full season. We can only hope, because he really should be winning it damn near every year, honestly, with how good he is defensively. But always, we know staying on the court's a big issue for Anthony Davis. But I'm going to go with Davis.
I am really tempted to go with Rudy Gobert again, because if I'm projecting the Jazz to make the finals, they're going to need Spider to take that superstar step where he's averaging 25 plus a game. And they're going to need Rudy Gobert to really make an impact on both sides of the ball, but definitely more on the offensive side than the defensive side, because we already know what he can do on defense. I'm really, really tempted to go Rudy again, but I'm gonna go with Bam.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm gonna go with Bam because honestly, the Heat will have one of the best team defenses in the league. And with Jimmy most likely sitting 20 plus games, let's say, either between injury and or rest, Bam's gonna have that opportunity to really excel. And he's got the athleticism you look for. He's got the IQ you look for. He's right. And Bam's got to win some awards, man. I love me some Bam.
I just don't love it because he probably won't block enough shots to get it. Another guy that maybe blocks a lot of shots is Miles Turner. I don't think the Pacers will be good enough, nor will he necessarily be sexy enough or, them good enough basically to get it. But yeah, Gobert's always in it. Davis, it's always guys who get blocks or elite perimeter defender, like someone like Giannis. Giannis could also be in the conversation again. Also, one I want to mention is maybe Embiid. If Embiid can play anything close to a full year, he's another defensive standout who gets the 2+ blocks a game. That's the only reason I would think it might be hard for Bam, but I do like the pick. It's definitely a little outside the box, and you should throw some money on that if you're feeling convicted.
I mean, Miami's defensive rating was 10th last year. They add Kyle Lowry, which we know Lowry's reputation in the league as a bulldog, particularly on the defensive side. He can be a pain in the ass, especially on pick and rolls. So Bam's got all the measurables you look for today's NBA center. It's just, can he take that next level? I think Rudy is the overwhelming favorite, but I didn't want to go with the favorite. I would rather go with my guy and be wrong than go with the favorite just to be right. I don't know. That's just me.
No, it's more fun. Plus, Gobert's won a bunch of them, but that's my only feeling about that is lately, if it's a big man, it's someone who gets a lot of blocks. But maybe the Heat defense will change, or with better to play, they'll funnel more blocks to him. It's just that Bam averages usually only like one per game. He's not an elite shot blocker. He's a great defender, especially in the pick and roll, and he's more versatile than Gobert in some of those areas. But obviously, Gobert's the stifle tower for a reason and can get 3 blocks a game.
Stifle Tower. There it is. That's what I was looking for that. I forgot what he was called.
I got you.
Yeah, I forgot. I was trying to think what his nickname was. I couldn't remember it for the life of me. And I didn't want to say the wrong thing on the air. So thank you, Bob, for that. The Stifle Tower.
You're welcome.
Yes, I love it. And with that, those are our predictions. That's our review. That's our NBA preview. If you stuck through this long, we love you. We appreciate you. God bless you. And give us a follow on our social media accounts. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. Bob, what's our handle?
The handle on both of those is DB Talking Sports. D as in Dan, B as in Bob. Talking Sports. Certainly, we appreciate any and all feedback, comments, questions, concerns. Anything you want us to talk about or you would like to add to the conversation, we would love to hear from you. Certainly feel free to message us if you know us personally. And thank you for making it this far if you're listening to this.
We appreciate you. And as always, I'm Dan Kornhauser.
I am Bobby Hunt.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We will talk to you guys later.